Sorry, I think I'm a little nervous. I have never had this many people.
Is this your first group pod?
Well, no, I've had two other people on several occasions, but not this many. This is a lot.
We're like the family that does everything together.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Honestly, Liv's like,
Okay. All right. Hi. My name is Shane Brody. I've been traveling around the country talking to trans people, non-binary, intersex, gender non-conforming, agendered, neutrois, etc. There's a lot of new language out there, which I'm really excited about and learning about. So I'm here in Nebraska, and it's really interesting. It's my dog's birthday, and I found some, beef lung tips, roasted beef lung tips for him, because Nebraska has a really robust beef industry, and he enjoyed them. It's his birthday today, and these two really loved him up earlier, and it was really wonderful for me, and he enjoyed it. Anyway, I am going to pass the mic. That's how we're going to kind of work things today, since there's so many people here today with me. And they're going to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Brenda. I'm mom. And I'm here with Ava, Olivia, and my husband of 28 years, Jeff.
All right.
Hello, my name is Ava. I'm their daughter. I'm a trans woman. My pronouns are she, her. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm Ava's sister and obviously also the daughter of them too. I go by she, her. I'm a cisgender woman, and yeah, I'm excited.
All right.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm Dad.
All right. Okay. So I thought we'd start with you, Ava.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm 20 years old. I'm a college dropout.
Some of the smartest people I know are college dropouts.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was, so that makes me as smart as him.
Yeah. Some people don't like the regimentation.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more contrarian.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I started transitioning 3 years ago, and that was like at the very start of everything, like pre-hormones, pre-all that. So it was a lot going on.
That was the beginning of COVID as well, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Eventful time for me and the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that, so I've talked to quite a few trans people, and some of them actually mentioned that COVID gave, the shutdowns and the more quietude during COVID gave them some time to have some introspection or some space in their lives to think about gender identity and that sort of thing. Do you think that was the case with you at all?
Well, I think it was. Yes and no. Around by the time COVID hit, I knew that I was probably going to transition and that was probably what I wanted for myself. I was more in the stage of like, if there's any way to like not do that, maybe like try that first or try to, reason yourself out of it.
So you were kind of resistant.
I was resistant to like just accepting that or accepting that was the truth. So once,
Did you have like maybe another identity within the queer or trans community before then?
Oh yeah. I identified as gay before coming out and transitioning to female. So yeah, I was a gay kid going all throughout high school. So it was, it wasn't like too much of like, a shift. It wasn't like I was going from like, just frat bro to like, it was, you could tell. You could,
So you were pretty out.
Yeah, I was fairly, by the time I came out, it was like, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People in my family and around me definitely knew before I did,
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's signs and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty resistant to that change, and once COVID came, I was stuck in quarantine, school was canceled, and I was living with our grandparents were living with us at the time. So yeah,
That's a big family.
it's a lot of people in
Yeah.
one house.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of living on top of each other, and
I've never had that experience. I'm envious of that actually.
oh yeah, it's got its perks. It's got its ups, its downs. Yeah, so it was a lot of people in my house and a lot of I had a lot of social dysphoria at the time. I hated he him pronouns. I hated my name. So being surrounded by that and then just sort of trying to like recede back into my room basically. And I did a lot of journaling, a lot of like writing, almost feverishly.
So you sort of self-isolated
Yeah.
a little bit? Uh-huh.
Basically. And I'd say, that was probably the darkest point in that stage. I wouldn't say it was like an awesome time of like exploration and like, society's hit the brakes. I can, do
Sure.
what I want.
Sure.
It was more like
I think it was really stressful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
it was more like Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Even up in Alaska, like, in a place that is much less densely populated. I mean, this is a city, so it's probably, a real city. But people are used to isolating up there because they have little cabins and that sort of thing. But when everything kind of shuts down, that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's, shit that's not supposed to be shut down is,
Yeah,
not
just
there.
getting
Yeah.
groceries and...
Yeah, the social spaces are gone.
Yes.
You want to travel out, like that's
Yeah.
not an option.
Yeah.
Um,
For a while, all I was doing was like going to Costco and getting a hot dog, and that was like, wow.
yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I
Totally.
worked at a goddamn deli sandwich shop at the time.
Okay.
And that was my excitement for the day.
Yeah. And you guys, did you stay open during COVID?
Oh, yeah.
Like essential worker?
I was an essential worker
Yes.
at the time.
We're both doing that.
Yeah, that essential. Yeah. Well, I wasn't for the first month because our grandparents, they were quarantining with us. Then, yeah. After a while, basically, I was just like, I have to make money eventually. I'll just,
Yeah.
try to distance from them. They didn't get COVID. Good news.
Oh, good, good.
They got the vaccine soon enough.
We had some strange stuff happen in Alaska. They actually called, as long as the miners, like we have gold miners up there, as long as they were wearing a mask, they could be down in a mine together and be considered essential workers.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Miners?
That is crazy.
Really strange. Did you have anything like that here? Like kind of strange?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it was like, well, it was very, I think once the COVID and all those restrictions hit, it was very bureaucratic. Like, yeah. Like, there was like, people are wearing masks, but also if someone comes in and someone's not wearing a mask, you technically don't have to tell them to put one on.
Okay. A lot of bars stayed open.
Yeah.
But the churches and other social spaces like closed.
We had a bowling alley or like a bar or something that, because they had to shut down and they became convinced they were like the Alamo or something. And they were like, no, we're going to resist this. And
Okay.
they just kept getting fines and it was really
Right.
stupid.
Like those people that had the gyms or whatever, we're never going to shut down and we're
God,
never
yeah.
going to have any safety measures. Yeah, it's so strange.
It's just a very weird, like, well, and then it became politicized. And then later on in the pandemic, I was working
Yeah.
at Chili's. And that's when, I don't even know, because I was the hostess and I had to say, like, do you have a mask?
Okay.
And I
Oh,
couldn't
so
let them in.
You were like the front line.
Yeah, I was the front
Okay.
lines getting
Yes.
all of the, like, anger that Fox News
Right.
was loading up to these people,
Right.
or whoever.
And you're right, it was kind of overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so strange how that happens. I've also, this is kind of a segue. We're also, we're kind of having this buildup, but I feel like the last few months we've kind of also had this big push about anti-trans bills, like just kind of suddenly, like hundreds and hundreds of them. I was wondering, I guess, if you could all kind of talk about that, because you're a family, like how that is, how you're dealing with that. And I'm imagining that you're also in maybe community with other people, other parents maybe, and how people are dealing with that, like in this community. We're in a very red state too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep red state.
Yeah.
Technically purple if you count Omaha, but basically,
Is Omaha the bluest part?
it is technically their electoral votes are partitioned,
Okay.
and yeah, they usually go blue.
Okay.
But that's besides the point. The anti-trans bills right now. Well, I mean, I think anywhere you are, it's a scary time, to live
Yeah.
as a trans person. And I started hormones at 18 or 17, and I'm now 20. So like it, I'm not affected by the bills that have been passed. LB 574 cuts off like gender transition, puberty blockers for minors, and those procedures.
Yeah. Some states have tried to go higher with
Right,
expanding
yeah.
it to adults.
Well, and like, you see the trans like kids, their healthcare band, and you can kind of tell, like, if you're not stupid, the writing's on the wall, like,
Yeah.
it's probably encroaching, and I think that our like legislation really likes the anti-trans bills right now, because our senators, they don't like to work. They don't want to work. They
Okay.
don't want to do that. They want to, yeah, they like.
Well, it
they-
does seem like it's kind of a template that they keep sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here, try this in this state. Oh, here, let's try this over here.
They get a template.
Yeah.
They don't concern themselves if we can actually pass this, what the Constitution says about this in our state. It's
Right.
It's not about that to them. It's, put this bill up, waste all of your time in the session, and then you don't have to actually worry about any other issues. And then at the end of it, you have a Republican majority, so you're going to get what you want, and then you've wasted everyone's time. So I think it's very politically convenient right now, and it's convenient for them to go further, and that scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once you have a few, let's say, successes in
yeah.
bigotry, it's almost like they feel emboldened to try more. That's very frightening.
Yeah.
Besides taking it to other states and just kind of tweaking things locally to see what would work. There's definitely a lot going on. How's this, I guess, affected you emotionally? Because you're very new to
Yeah.
transition, and this is kind of happening while you're doing
Right.
that.
Yeah, right when I
Yeah.
like started up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, like this weird transphobia thing, it kind of like had this weird renaissance right when I started like the teenage years with like, on the internet there was like, trans medicalism and like trans people themselves like pushing all this internalized transphobia
Yeah,
stuff.
like Blair White and Buck Angel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, Blair White. Yeah. But like, there was a lot of that and a lot of changing their rhetoric to be more covert. And then by the time that sort of was able to realize that was bullshit and, like, sort of
Did
try to
you
heal
did you
from that
kind of follow them for a little bit?
for a little while.
Okay.
I was like 15.
Yeah, can you tell me about that? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what initially appealed to you about what they were saying? Because I think that's really important, because I think they do take in some people, because they
yeah.
do say some things that are true, but then they layer it with other things that aren't true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was 15 at the time. I was trying really hard to, be a boy and be cisgendered. And I was, getting into the online politics space. If you're familiar, that was 2016, Trump starting and all of that. And I think, because I knew by, when I was 12 that I wanted to transition. But hearing like, Blair White say that like, no, like even transness is a very binary thing. You have to be transsexual. You have to have this, and this. Like you can't know until, the doctor says or, the diagnosis comes.
Okay.
that,
So you need like a stamp from
Yeah.
somebody to say that you're trans. Okay.
yeah, it was
Outside of yourself.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
need the outside validity, and you need
Okay.
to, meet this whatever weird
Criteria,
criteria.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So it provided.
That's really old school. I mean, that's like a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And people who lived through that did a lot of activism to change that.
Yeah.
Because it was so horrible for them.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like no trans person from the 80s or like 20th century is like, oh my God, I loved, having
right.
to like fucking placate all those
Yes.
doctors.
And
yeah.
it was within those rules or whatever that people actually had to cut themselves off from their families.
Yeah.
They had to get divorced, even if they had like a loving relationship with a partner, a wife or a husband. They had to actually get a divorce. They had to leave their communities. It was part of the rules
Yeah.
of being a trans person. You couldn't be queer or gay afterwards. If that was any hint of that, forget it. Forget it. And what it did is it made people lie. It made people not access other health care as well because, wow, I'm being treated very poorly here. I can't trust these people. I can't trust these people to care for me. Let's not go back there.
No.
Yes.
That's
Sorry, that's my
not.
little sermon, but I feel I'm very passionate about that.
But yeah, that's basically the point. And
Yes.
it's, why there are people who want to, go back to that criteria, I don't know. I
No,
think
it's a grift.
It's a grift. I think on some level they think that if they can position themselves on this side, they can be one of the good ones.
Right. The pick-me people.
Yeah, the pick me. It's Blair White's a pick me girl
Yes, yes.
for the worst kind of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it gave me an easy way to say like this is trans and it's not me. Like it's like I've been excluded by that. No cigar. So it was very like it's almost like ego soothing in a way,
okay.
which is like weird because it was ultimately self harm.
So I don't fit these rules, so I'm not trans.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, basically like
That
that.
sucks. That sucks.
It was shitty, and
Yeah.
I'm still like, God, it fucking sucks that I fell into that.
Mm.
I still have like some anger towards myself for not being smarter and falling for the grift, but.
Yeah. But you were also 15.
I was 15.
Yeah.
There was fucking snake oil salesperson there.
right.
Like
and
I listened
very
to them.
popular and
Yeah.
beautiful as you
Yeah.
know, at least physically, not else otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
that's-
easy to fall into.
It's the other part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buck Angel looks fucking hot.
I know,
Blair
very
White
masculine.
looks hot. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's part of their appeal too.
Yeah.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that they're very cis passing and cis people can sit in a room with them and not feel weird about it.
Right.
And I think a lot of trans people, well, I think all of us want that. We all want that.
I don't know if everybody wants that because there are people who are non-binary.
That's
who-
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, yeah.
Who,
You're right.
there's a variety. There's a whole scale, and there's people who don't even think they're on that scale. They're doing their own thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. There are people who are like, I want to, just push that like binary and sort of
Yeah.
change that about myself, and
But
that's awesome.
But there are people definitely who want to be stealth, who want to be cis passing. I used to definitely want to be that way, so I understand that sort of thing. The only reason why I couldn't be anymore is because I did some very public activism.
Right.
But I will tell you, having that privacy in my life was wonderful. And when I had to give it up, it was actually terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just how it is if you're going to do a lot of activism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I chose my words wrong there. Not everyone wants to look cis, and that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. In fact, I really appreciate it when there's like people out there that I'm like, wow, who are you?
Yeah, fuck it. It's a gender.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
That's right.
Yeah. Like,
That's right.
Those character customization screens on video games, I think it should be like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it should be. I think that, yeah. So yeah, but I think everyone wants cis people not to hate them.
Yes, that's the thing.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you are cis passing, you do experience less discrimination on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's much easier.
Much
and
easier.
you can sort of, it feels like getting to the other side. In some way, it feels like, it feels like safety, but, those are all rooted in very the same gender norms that, hurt you.
Well, also there is safety there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in a time like now, I don't blame anyone who wants to be very private. I mean, goodness gracious, there's so much. It's like we've forgotten like this sort of civil decorum and like neighborliness or just even friendliness, And there are people confronting others on the street like, oh, and you can't use this bathroom. And oftentimes it's against cisgendered people that they're doing this who are maybe gender non-conforming, like a woman wearing a flannel or something, and going into the women's room, cisgendered women. So we're in a weird spot right now. It feels like we've gone really backwards.
And it's, you can just get attacked for being in the goddamn restroom.
Right.
You can,
Yeah.
if some guy that you're with, decides that you're a threat to his ego or, you don't want him to treat you like shit, that can be very dangerous for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that where, I think that cis people, especially conservatives, they talk about the trans issues. They are, as flippant or, they treat it as however they want and then they go on with their days. And
Right. Yeah, because it means
done.
nothing to them.
Yeah.
They can just throw out a comment that is deeply hurtful
Oh, yeah.
and just, whatever.
Yeah,
That's what I believe.
Right. That's just, what I believe. And then, you know that there's someone beneath you and,
Right.
you're all good to go.
Right.
And you can just sort of,
If I can make somebody feel worse, I'm going to do it.
yeah.
Right?
That'll aid my ego in some way.
Yeah.
And then they can go on with their days and
Yeah.
it's shut off from them. But,
Yeah.
trans people, you keep spreading this shit and hate into the world, that you have to deal with that danger.
Right.
People.
How do you deal with that, by the way? You're a young person.
Right.
I'm expecting that you probably have a social group of other trans people that you know.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah.
Like how you found community?
Yeah, I mean, it was very hard at first. I have a lot of social anxiety. I found most of my trans
Thank
friends.
you for doing this interview, by the way, even though you have that. I love that so much. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
No problem at all.
Yes.
Yeah, it felt like an important thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, like
I
I
won't be able to find her for 2 days, but
Okay.
well, yeah.
Well, that's okay.
that's fine.
That's why I lived in a cabin by myself in Alaska.
Oh God, I wish I lived there.
It was good. It was good.
Sometimes I'm jealous of the Unabomber, but that's besides the point. You can edit that out.
No,
You can
yeah.
edit that out.
Well, I did have a dry cabin that was a little bit remote, and I did have an outhouse, and I didn't have running water. I didn't even have a sink, so it's just me and my dog and a lot of snow and occasionally some moose. So I did a lot of reading.
A lot of reading.
Yeah.
Shit. Maybe you are the Unabomber.
No.
No.
No. I'm not even a prepper. I mean,
You're not a doomsday.
No.
Not a doomsday guy.
I like fresh food,
Yeah, that's fair.
salads and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. But
So
yeah.
how do you
basically?
how have you found community?
Yeah, I'm not like the point. I'm not the type to really seek out a lot of social stuff too much. But the workplace I'm at right now, can I say where I work just vaguely?
Maybe just describe.
Yeah,
what it is.
I'm in hospitality.
Okay.
So I've
A lot of young people are.
a lot of young people. There's a good amount of like transgender diverse people there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I've, it's been great just like talking to them, working with them, and just like, being able to like, just have someone there and like, if you get misgendered or if some like weird thing happens, you can go up to them and be like, "Can you believe this happened?" And they can be a lot
Right.
more sympathetic and.
I'll tell you as a customer too, so because I'm doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
If I go into place and I see people who I, maybe think are queer or trans or just, fabulous in some way, I'm like, oh, I picked the right place. Great.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's where I want to put my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's like a good.
Yeah.
It's a good indicator.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, just the other day I had this like drunk guy at 6 a.m. tell me that I was very tall for a woman.
Okay.
and I told him to go to bed. But basically, I mean, I was just, it was nice
Go
to,
home.
yeah, go upstairs, go somewhere that's not down here.
Yes.
So, you know, it was just nice to have, like, you know, a trans feminine person there to be like, can you believe this shit that he said? And, you know,
Yes.
yeah, she could understand.
Is
yeah.
your workplace in general, do they have a non-discrimination policy or
yeah.
just a culture of being welcoming?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great.
I mean, both my bosses are lesbians.
Great.
It's a very, like, queer, diverse department that I'm in. So you know, it's very, like, I think, yeah, like, just a little bit ago, I was like, the chef jacket that I have right now makes me dysphoric as all hell. Can I get a new one? And they were immediately like, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What does the new one look like that makes you feel better?
Oh, it's just a smaller size.
Okay. So not so baggy. and-
Not so, like,
okay.
baggy, and it doesn't look like I'm, like, yeah. But it still doesn't look great. It's a chef jacket.
Okay.
But yeah, they're, you know, an accommodating workplace, at least a lot better than
Great.
a lot better than Chili's.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes those corporate entities are actually pretty good. They have robust policies because they're national chains. So you have to follow the rules across the United States, which is sometimes kind of nice for trans people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But also if you do work for people that you know that are queer friendly and, you know, they're a local business, that's also great, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But oftentimes you know, you have to be a little choosy. You know, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially, like, I wasn't stealth at Chili's. I was, like, semi-stealth. But, like, Courtyard, it's just nice to be, like, out.
Yeah.
As, like, myself and
Yeah,
just
your
be
full
able,
self.
Yeah, and just, like, you know,
Why
be able
not?
to be like, yes, I'm a trans woman. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that is a big, like, that's a valuable thing to have in a workplace. And especially when you work somewhere where you know that's not the case, you know how valuable that is. Yeah. So yeah, it's chaos sometimes, but I really like it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gone to any like peer support groups? Is there a LGBT center that you go to? Have you, when you were briefly in college, did you go to any college events that were LGBT or trans friendly specifically?
Not college ones.
Yeah.
I did like one on Zoom or
Okay.
something.
Okay, yeah.
But
Yeah, that's right. Everything moved to Zoom.
Everything moved to Zoom. Yeah, so there
I
was.
hated that.
Oh God, it was terrible. Because I was like, I can't convince myself this is like a social setting. This
no.
feels like a meeting.
Yeah, it feels like a work training or something.
Yeah. It felt like that. And then also like just with Zoom, this is like a very like specific dysphoria thing.
Yeah.
But like, had to be there. But the Zoom, like you could hear the feedback of your own voice sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So like at the start of like
Right.
voice training, just like talking back into that and I'm like, oh God, that's what they heard. I was very mean to myself. And so it was
No,
not
I
good.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, I've actually had that too through this project.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, doing this project and looking at myself more because I never used to look at myself so much,
Oh,
right?
really?
Or listen to myself or see, my mannerisms, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Has even though I'm kind of an elder trans person. I mean, I transitioned a really long time ago, probably before you were born. I'm imagining.
2002.
Yeah,
Yep.
way before, way before you were born. I still have issues, right?
Yeah.
Because we live in this weird culture that, really tries to box us up and, doesn't allow us to be more free and creative just across the board for everybody, right? Just even the other day, my car kind of broke down a little bit and someone was helping me and I was a little bit afraid and I felt like I needed to butch myself up a little bit
Yeah, no.
just
yeah.
so that he wouldn't treat me poorly. At least that was my idea of him, because I was just worried, like he's not going to help me or maybe he would be violent. I don't know.
Right.
Right? I mean, yeah, so there's all kinds of things to work through
Yeah.
personally, but then also I feel like our culture just, it I don't know. I don't even have a word for it. It just binds us or something. It
It's-
boxes us in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very our culture is very good at like implicitly pushing us and forcing us into certain roles.
Yeah.
When we,
Yeah.
you know, in like circumstances, because you know, like we have a lot of social change, but it only takes like one situation like that for, you know, you to get hurt or like
Yeah.
something like that. And
Yeah.
then, you know, I think especially when you're alone out in the Goonies, like it's,
Goonies.
in the Goonies. Yeah, I know that one.
The sticks are the boonies, too.
Yeah, Sticks and Boonies. Yeah,
The farmland, the vast farmland.
the Heartlands. Yeah.
The hinterlands.
The wasteland, yeah. But yeah, you're like, you know, you're very aware of that.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, it's, I don't know. I think that just there's, I mean, we've sort of talked about it already. A lot
Yeah.
of violence, a lot of
yeah.
people like, you know, like attacking even like cis women. You know,
Right.
they're trying to be transphobic
Yeah.
and getting confused or something.
Right, and women's rights in general
Yeah.
are being also taken away from them.
Oh, yeah,
Whether
sure.
you're conservative or liberal or whatever.
Yeah.
Every woman. Yep.
If you're menstruating, you're screwed. Yeah. And if you're a woman, you're screwed. And if you're anyone, you're screwed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Thank you.
yeah. That's the best way I could put
Yeah,
it. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's rational. You have to keep yourself safe. But you know, there's also that part of you that's like, you know, am I being like, you know, not generous to this person? But
Right.
it's defense. Yeah.
Right, right. And that's something that hurts me that came up the other day. I was like, maybe I'm just not trusting this person. How horrible of me that somebody who's helping me, I can't trust them, you know?
Right, yeah.
Right?
But like,
right?
but then you're like, but it's just one person who I shouldn't
Yeah.
have trusted, and then I did trust,
Right.
and that could,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that can happen.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and take a break for a minute. We've been talking for a while. Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You have such a good podcast voice.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my mom's voice. I mean, that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Is it softer and it's higher and I feel like it's very expressive. And I don't, I know that you have taken voice lessons and a lot of people do that. A lot of trans men do that as well. I just don't want to do that because I like it. I like
Yeah.
my voice.
UNL provides voice training through one of their departments, and I know the first session is free. So once you fill that stuff out, basically you go there and they have a machine that measures, you know, your vocal range and basically estimates, you know, this could be the higher register, this could be the lower register. So it's, you know, it's not like voice therapy, but it gives you a jumping off point and, you know, a lot of good, valuable information. And, you know,
So as you go through the training, you can see how it changes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can sort of see like the progress you made or like, you know, that charted out. And yeah, you can do the vocal training with them as well.
So your own personal experience with it, what was that like?
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. I did the one session my therapist really wanted me to, and I don't know a lot about campus actually, so I
Oh, right. Yeah, you dropped out of college. right?
college dropout. Yeah,
That's okay. I've dropped out of many college and graduate programs, by the way.
it's just so much fun. There's something.
I didn't
about
even
it.
finish high school, so
Hell yeah, see, you should get an award for that. Yeah. Oh.
You tried.
Yeah. You know, we try. That's all that matters.
I did finally finish, but it took a lot of support from an advisor. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, your guidance counselor told you that you would be a hairdresser.
Yeah. Told me my only hope was doing hair. And look at my hair. So thank goodness I went to college anyway.
yeah, I was told to go into data entry.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I did become a geologist at some point, and I have a degree from Harvard Divinity School. So there you go.
Is that the religion school?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, Jesus. And many others prophets. But actually, there's a whole big group that's called the nuns too, and it's NONES, not NUNS. So they're kind of agnostic and atheist and whatnot.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's the nuns.
Yes, the nuns. Anyway, so back to voice
support.
training.
Voice training.
Yeah.
So because I'm usually very like anxious whenever I'm on campus. A lot of people, but they were like very nice there, very accepting.
So after you went through, like, let's say a couple of trainings, what was your homework, I guess?
Homework.
Yeah. Because I'm imagining that they would have you do like exercises or something like that.
They talked about like options going further. Honestly, I did the one session and I was like, I have the information in the chart.
Okay.
And then I just kind of looked up guides on the internet and I just went from there.
Some of those guides on the internet are actually really good because it's from people who've already been through it.
It's like trans women saying like,
Right.
this is this, and there's like,
Right.
guides on like Tumblr, on like YouTube and all that.
You can even fix your car.
Yeah, you can fix your car. Yeah.
I was very tempted the other day.
Yeah. It's like really, so I was like, I think if people are, fixing cars and stuff with the internet, I can do voice training.
Yeah.
And I think it panned out pretty well. But that one session was actually, it was pretty helpful. That's like what I know about voice training basically locally.
And that's at, what is it, UNL?
Yeah, the University of Nebraska,
And
Lincoln.
you had some things to say about that, right?
Yeah, they have the university here in Lincoln has some other like resources for the LGBTQ plus community. Just having like a club and a group for LGBTQ plus people to come through.
Is that like a social?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so it's kind of located in the university's like main Union Center campus. And then they also have like support groups there. Like you guys can all go get coffee there. It's kind of like a come one, come all, like let's all support. And then I know they've also done a lot of discussion panels about like LB574. Even though it might not impact their age range, it's still impacting kind of our community and everything going on and the feelings that come with that.
And students who will be eventually going there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's also a couple other like support groups in Lincoln, just at coffee shops like downtown that I've seen have been really helpful and really great turnouts.
Okay.
And even just being able to extend those resources to my clients. I do therapy. And so also working a lot with like LGBTQ plus community and being able to like have those resources.
That's so great. I'm so glad that you're a therapist.
Thank you. Me too. Me too. It's needed.
And she's really good with my dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dogs and people. I got
Yes.
it. I got it.
Got it unlocked.
Yeah. But it's nice to know that there are like those resources. So when people are like looking for support or looking for help, it's not kind of just like sorry about it, but they can actually go someplace in person.
Or even, that there's social stuff and not medicalizing it too, or pathologizing it too.
Yeah. Just like kind of come talk to other people who are also going to accept you, take you as you are, and kind of have that feeling of community and safety, I think is the big piece.
In general, how would you say the University of Nebraska Lincoln does, just in general as an institution?
Yeah, I think they're doing a lot better now for sure. I think when I was an undergrad, I didn't see as much of like support for LGBTQ plus community or just like people that weren't male or female. It just wasn't as common then. And then now being in a master's program and kind of with the cultural times, they've kind of decided to like get more with the times.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And so I do applaud them on that. They have like a ton more resources available, and even we have like kind of like there's a lavender graduation too for people who are lesbian and kind of get to have that experience
And that's just an extra ceremony.
Yeah.
It's not instead of.
Yeah, no, it's like an extra thing kind of honoring their identity and the kind of journey they went on along with like academic journey. But I do think they've done really well in the last couple of years, and even being at Pride, they go to Star City Pride in Lincoln. They have a booth there, and they kind of talk about their resources that they offer the community there, and like
That's great.
get the word out.
So even in a very red state, there are still some resources here, especially at the university.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so sometimes it doesn't feel like the university would be as involved because it is kind of like a political thing almost sometimes with academia and like sometimes
It's very hard to move them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they've done a really good job at like making it known that they are a good form of support
Yeah.
and like being out at community
Yeah.
events for
Well,
sure.
what they're doing is they're supporting their student body.
Yeah.
And their professors and
Yeah.
their graduate students, you know.
Definitely.
Their TAs.
I think they've listened to the students a lot more
Yeah.
in like the last like probably like 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
about what they really need and not just what the university needs.
Right.
So
Right. Is there any relationship with, let's say, the Transgender Day of Remembrance or other sorts of events like that?
I
Community
know
events?
some like clubs on campus, like LGBTQ
Mm-hmm.
plus club, they kind of honor that day, the Transgender Remembrance Day or
Yeah.
just Visibility Day. They
Yeah.
did a big kind of event for like Transgender Visibility Day.
Okay.
when
And that
it
was recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so just having those things out there, and they'll like pass out flyers around campus,
Yeah.
like if you need resources, like other clothing, maybe like come to this place, or just spreading the word like that and making it more of like something to celebrate, not
Yeah.
something to like hide.
Yeah, yeah, and part of the greater community as well.
Yeah.
Even though there's a focus, because you need to focus,
Mm-hmm.
but also just part of the greater college community.
Yeah. I think it makes it almost better for like the academia world, because
Yeah.
when you're struggling so much in one area, that's hard to focus on academics. and
Exactly.
so
exactly.
like having
And it's part of academia as
Yeah.
well. It's gender studies have been around for a long time. LGBT, etc. studies have been around for a long time. So it just makes these universities part of academia even more. you know?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if you don't feel safe and accepted as you are, you can't feel safe to learn.
Yeah,
So
I
like
mean,
that's important.
Imagine being in Florida at the moment and they're
Yeah.
emptying entire libraries
Yeah.
and saying that you can't say things in schools, even in the university setting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Definitely in a time where it feels like some months we step like a couple steps forward
Yeah.
and then something will bring us like 10 steps back
Right.
and you're like, what's
It's
going
so
on?
unstable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No.
I don't like that.
It's definitely it's uncomfortable, but also more conversation needs to happen so it's not so unsteady.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? I don't know, this is a little bit tricky question. It's not meant to, trick you or something. How do you feel about some of this stuff as like a cisgendered person,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's I have a lot of compassion because even like for Ava, this is my sister.
Right.
And I think it's hard too because like I am cisgender, so obviously our experiences are completely different. Our upbringings are completely different. The way we look at the world and our perspectives are completely and always going to be different. Just because I
Maybe
don't
not that different.
Yeah, I know we share a lot. And
Yeah.
we share a lot.
Yeah.
But I think
I think the challenges might be
Yeah.
a little bit different.
yeah.
Perspective
Maybe.
changes.
I
Yeah.
think it's always just like educated, like evolving more in
Yeah.
like my perspective and like we
Well,
always
you'd have to as a therapist, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You have to
you should.
examine
Yeah.
all that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we always make a joke where Ava's like, "Well, you're the cisgender one," and I'm like,
She
"You're
is
right."
the cisgendered one.
Yeah, I'm like, "God damn it,"
God, did
so-
we mention that? It's so
Yeah.
unfortunate.
just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that. So then it's just like we cope with humor,
The,
of
the
course.
expert eye roller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've gotten really good at it.
Yeah. But I
Absolutely.
think like being cisgendered, that just puts me in a place where like I should be evolving with
Yeah.
all the different perspectives and looking at different perspectives from everyone.
Yeah.
Not just like
Yeah, well, it's
Ava, but
part of
other
your
trans people
work
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that as a therapist? Like, do you go for extra training?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, there's actually, it is kind of cool because UNL actually did a kind of like LGBTQ plus everything that you should know as like an ally and accepting therapist last year. And so I did that training last year. And there was a really amazing professor that put it on too by the university who's non-binary. And so they,
Oh, great.
yeah, and so definitely just
awesome.
like being able to see like those people in positions like that
Yeah,
to like
right.
teach us more, and that was actually very helpful just to like learn language and know what language might be hurtful, what language as a society we've just kind of gotten used to, but is very like binary
Yes.
and learning more
Like honorifics, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like learning more like accepting language and more inclusive to all. And then I think a big part, especially I work with a lot of like college students, like how do you work with a college student whose family isn't accepting and they're kind of looking for that support in other ways. So that's like when those other resources come in super handy when
the community ones, like the coffee shop meetings and
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's other like community and clubs around Lincoln that aren't associated with UNL for like older populations, like out of college type of
like my age or something.
And I know there are those opportunities too. So even the people that I see that aren't college age but are still like going through transitioning or just kind of figuring out their identity or coming to like feeling comfortable talking about it, I still have things to offer them. But I think more trainings are always really important.
Always. I don't think that doctors, MDs get enough training, definitely.
No. No, definitely not. I think that's something that is like commonly talked about. Like they need to go to some of these trainings, which obviously doctors, it can be difficult. Schedules are different. But I think just having more of like the awareness around like that language, especially like in a doctor's office, that could be more helpful. But I am really,
and that can be also something that administration can take care of, you know, and make the whole hospital or whole clinic like that. Well, and even thinking about, I also worked here, and we had, you know, we had trainings here too that were like like you had to do them to be part of your work. So I think implementing more things like that in like a medical setting would be more beneficial. Like those allied trainings is what some of them were called. And I think those... Was it more than just like, oh, finish this module and click this box and then you can go to the next screen? I hate those. I hate those, by the way. Was it more than that?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was more than that. One of them I did...
think those train you just to... How to know to get by, and that's not good training.
No, it's like, what can I do to get to the next module?
And that's how you deal with people too. Like, how can I just move past you this problem? You know, that we're having here.
I think the one thing I appreciated from the training I did through UNL is it was kind of a discussion panel with everyone. So we went into smaller groups, kind of talked about like, what are times that we've noticed maybe ourselves using this like harmful language and didn't realize it, and what would we say instead?
Oh, that's hard. Because you got to admit
vulnerable,
stuff. You got to admit stuff.
I know. Admitting stuff you've done wrong is uncomfortable, but also needed to learn for sure.
Totally.
So I think it was a really great learning experience. I know they're planning on doing more too. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
No, they've done great for sure.
Yeah. Well, Mom and Dad, what do you have some things to say here? How about you?
It's been interesting listening to all of this because you know, my perspective is the old white guy.
Hey, now I'm an old white guy too.
You know, Nebraska obviously is a very, very red state. But we are fortunate to live in a pretty blue, small area of that state. City of Lincoln primarily has had elected Democratic mayors. Our city council is primarily Democratic. We have the university here, and that lends itself to a more open-minded, progressive view of a lot of things. So while as a state, you know, we're always going to, I mean, the national elections, we're always going to vote for the Republican. In our statewide offices, it's always going to be Republican.
So the delegates are just going to go that way.
They're going to, you know, that Ava mentioned that we have this kind of bifurcated electoral college system where Omaha has its own, it's a separate winner-take-all electoral vote.
I see.
Us in Maine, I think, do that.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I wondered what that was about.
Well,
I've seen that on those maps.
It's about temporary, I think, right now. Cause the Republicans of the state are pretty unhappy that they've lost that electoral vote 2 or 3 times now.
Okay.
They're pissed.
So they're going to do some gerrymandering.
Oh, that'll probably change.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll go away. But
they're doing that up in Alaska. We voted in ranked choice voting and open primaries, and now they're all upset. They're all upset.
We don't like it when people actually get to do what they want to do and think
That's
of themselves.
right. That's right.
Autonomy.
Yeah, they hate that.
But the advantage we have in living here is Ava gets to have a little bit different experience than she would in some more rural areas, in some less less tolerant areas.
Did you grow up in a smaller place?
Yeah, we both did, and it's looking back at the things that we said. Speaking for myself here, we were kids in junior high and high school. It just kind of makes me cringe now. The things that were normalized, that were expected, and it's kind of like, I'm really ashamed of a lot of the things that we said and thought.
Yeah, it can really break relationships. I know for me, I remember my dad saying particular things, or my grandfather saying particular things, like racist things, for instance, and that distanced me from them. It's difficult. It's really difficult.
And it was, in the 60s and 70s, you said these things, didn't even think about what they really meant. It was just part of the normal vocabulary of everyday life in a little town in Nebraska. Like I said, we're fortunate that we are here, where Ava has the resources of UNL. She has a terrific therapist that has been wonderful for her to work with. She's got a medical community here that's been good for her to work with.
Speaking of that, is there like a particular gender clinic or something like that?
Well, the one that I would recommend, if you're in the Nebraska area, Heart and Aren't, that gender clinic, they're amazing. They're always super friendly there. And I know there's all sorts of horror stories about this person made me wait for HRT, or this person gave me, like a bullshit reason.
So gatekeeping,
basically. And there's a lot less of that.
Great.
I mean, when I asked about progesterone, they just they were like awesome about like just talking about it with me, and like, it's all informed consent. So like, they just gave me the brochures, and then I could sign off on it if I wanted to.
What does that involve, by the way? What does informed consent mean?
Oh yeah. Informed consent basically is a medical term. It's saying that with a particular treatment, if you have like informed your patient like up to a certain standard, you've given them that information, they've been told of like the effects of the medication, of side effects, in this case, HRT. Basically, like, there's no other like weird bullshit of like, need to socially transition for 6 months. You don't need the letters. You can just get the HRT because you yourself have signed off on it.
So they tell you like the benefits and the drawbacks and that sort of thing.
Basically,
okay. Basically what is done with most medications, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
here's the side effects.
Yeah, it's a conversation between you and the doctor, and you agree, this is the good idea, but of course, trans people, especially in a medical sense, we do not get to have the same autonomy. So it's called informed consent for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Heart and Aren't is very good at making that accessible.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because oftentimes it's hard to get trans health care, but then if there's gatekeeping there, it's harder to even, get just regular care as well.
Yeah.
How are you going to trust a doctor if they are not even going to use your name and your pronouns? I mean, it's maddening.